Good morning to everyone. So today's topic is about bringing maybe kind of surprise to the board with respect to cybersecurity and how to really get the investments and the board onto your side. So what I will do is that I have a few slides that I have kept. First of all, I believe that this is a very good news that at least Chief Information Security Officers have got access to the board. So which was not earlier the case. Most of the time you would have seen that access to the board is with the businesses and technology professionals. But as the time has gone by, cybersecurity has become a board issue and board agenda. And as KPMG, when we did this survey for almost 5 consecutive and continuous years, the top 5 risks that board has identified, cybersecurity has been always either at 3rd or 4th year. People say strategic risk, geopolitical risk as 1st and 2nd, but one of the risks that they keep highlighting is cybersecurity, which shows that board is concerned. And in the last 3 to 4 years, boards have improvised a lot in terms of awareness as well as knowledge about the cybersecurity and its criticality and importance. And often incidents keep happening and board is quite aware about what is the real reason because of which incidents keep happening and what incidents can cost to the board, not just in terms of regulatory penalties or fines from the reputation perspective, but also from the loss of business. And there are several cases. The classic example is a Heartland payment system which got hacked, and within 1 week of getting hacked, their share price nosedived 77%, which means that your wealth can be destroyed just because of one incident. And then because of digitization, Gartner predicted that if you get attacked, the customers do not return to you almost in 44% of the cases, which means that if you do not have digital trust in the digital ecosystems, then you may also lose customers as well as the entire competitive advantage. You know, I classically give this example that would you like to bank with a bank who has been hacked or whose account has been compromised? You know, what will be our confidence level? And same thing goes with online e-commerce, digital e-commerce, so on and so forth. Gartner predicted that if you get attacked, 44% of the customers never return to you. So how you perceive cybersecurity is becoming very critical. The perception of cybersecurity as a cost function is gone, as a control function is gone long back, and everybody understands and realizes that cybersecurity now as a function is more of a competitive advantage as well as something that is required for your business to run, because this is what gives really trust into the entire digital ecosystem. So the question that we are going to discuss is about how CISOs can use this opportunity to take board on their side, which means CISOs often complain that they struggle with the budgeting, and we always say that if you look at it, the bad actors versus the CISOs. The bad actors have collaboration, they have unlimited amount of money, they have motivation. The underground digital cybercrime economy has grown to multiple $1 trillion, and people say that if cybercrime would have been economy, it would have been the 3rd largest economy, because that is the size of cybercrime money that goes in. Now if you look at it, CISOs, they have limited manpower, they have limited point security tools, and they have resource constraint as well as limited budgets. So the tug of war always happens wherein CISOs wants to implement best of the technology, get best of the people, get best of the create processes while still managing the business agility, and they struggle in managing or maintaining this. So what has happened is that in the board, while you are lucky that now you have got the opportunity and boards can definitely influence a lot to drive certain security programs, the opportunity has to be converted by the CISOs. But obviously there is one side to it that Chief Information Security Officers or CISOs generally get only 15 to 20 minutes in front of the board, at best. Even if you get more time, the span of attention and to convey your points, to really get the budget and boards on your side is between 15 to 20 minutes. So as I was saying, CISOs have got access to the board, but you have got only 15 minutes. And what you will see is that the board constituents are actually a diverse people, which means you have got technology professionals, you have got business professionals, you have got somebody from a regulatory background, and then you have got somebody from cybersecurity background. But it very rarely happens that you will get a board who is very adept at cyber. So what it means that you have to speak the language of a least common denominator, which means that any board member who does not understand technology and cyber but is coming from regulatory or a business background, he should understand what are you talking about from the perspective of risk, ability to work with businesses, as well as understand the threats and what is the reason and why you are asking for such a large budget. Now what happens is that when you are asking for money for technology investments, you can always show efficiency, you can show business improvisation, you can show KPIs, you can show return on investment. But in cybersecurity, you cannot show return on investment because in cybersecurity, your return on investment is not to get something which is attacked, not an outcome which can be measured very easily. So what happens, boards are generally outcome driven. So if anybody asks you for a business case, what is my return on investment? In any business and technology investments, you can always give them that my return on investment is going to be 3x or 5x or 10x. I will improve efficiency, I will better the user experience, I will remove the logistics cost, I will improvise my supply chain, and then can be many others. But in cyber, really what you're going to say, that I'm going to stop 99.9% attacks. So it becomes extremely difficult because there is no quantification of the risk, though you may say that it's a regulatory penalties and it can be a financial loss along with the reputational loss, but it is very difficult to keep on justifying year on year the investments that you can make on cyber. So really what should we do? CISOs first of all has to speak the language that the board understands, which means that we should speak three things. One, quantification of the risk and return on investment. Second, a visibility and governance. And the third, how do we benchmark and then get the board on our side with respect to right set of threats. Now, one critical point that I want to mention is that you would see, generally when you get 15 minutes, you go to the board, you are speaking about cyber threats, then you are talking about cyber strategic initiatives you are taking, you talk about vulnerabilities and incidents, and then your 15 minutes are over, and most of the time when nothing is happening, you generally give good news to the board, saying that I have invested XYZ money on secure remote access and secure third-party access and API security and so on and so forth. Some part of it board does not understand even, but you keep giving the good news. And then something goes wrong. Then you see the perception of the board. Were you fooling us for so long? Or you are giving me the picture that everything is hunky-dory till the time something goes wrong. So it is also important that you use this opportunity to always give mixed news. And till the time you give mixed news, you are more and more sounding like more realistic, and be ready for the incident. Not only ask money for proactive and detective controls, but to reasonable things, you ask for a money. You ask for a money for response and resilience controls, which means that if something goes wrong, how fast you can recover, how fast you can manage the communication, and how fast you can really come back onto your own feet. So this is extremely, extremely important because what you're trying to say is that doesn't matter what I do, something may always go wrong. And if something goes wrong, the probability is always 0-1 because it works binary. Then I am making the right set of investments in coming back to my feet. So what we should do, as I said, boards are outcome-based. We have to see if we can quantify the risk and do better return on investments. We always should give mixed news, and we should speak their language, which means we should speak the language of business and claim everything to support the business. Till the time your strategy is for supporting the business and regulatory compliance, board will understand and maybe give you money. So this is the questions, which I noted from recent board meetings, and we often go into the board meetings, and boards are asking these questions. They want to have visibility in terms of whether they know their top cyber and technology risk. They also want to know whether we are making the investments in mitigating the right cyber threats and risk. They also want to know, are they adequately funded to really invest in technologies and people. Then they also want to know, in case if something goes wrong, incident happens, then what is our preparedness in terms of cyber resilience, and how can we come back? And most of the people, and I've seen that CISOs see cyber incidents as a technical problem. And they invest a lot of money on cyber incident response, which means that I will have a process, I will have EDR, I will isolate the systems, I will do first level forensics, I will identify IOCs, so on and so forth. But if you look at it, when incidents happen, technical response is a critical part of it so that you can contain fast and then identify IOCs and then respond fast. But it also has two more responses. One is a regulatory response. Most of the industries today are regulated, and then you have to inform the regulators, say CERT says within 6 hours, and there are many other regulations from SEBI as well as from IRD and so on and so forth, which requires you to respond to them. So having to know which all parties you are supposed to respond is also important. So you need to have a regulatory response, and then you also need to have a communication response. How are you going to inform your CTOs and CEOs? How are you going to inform boards? Who is going to inform? What if this thing comes into the media? How are you going to respond to your internal people if your systems are down for 2 days, 1 day, 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is, So communication response is also extremely, extremely important to internal stakeholders, to external stakeholders, to employees, as well as if this leaks goes into the media, then to media. So you need to have a lot of holding statements. So technical response along with the whole crisis management is what board is concerned about and is looking at. And then board also wants to know that are there any key risk indicators for an executive dashboard consumption so that they get the right set of metrics to see where is the cyber program moving. So that's what board thinks. So why I put up this across is that when we are responding to the board, we speak the language and we try to answer these questions, over a period of time and every month or quarter. Now, what happens is that I also see most of the time CISOs post a picture of a risk, right? So that's a perspective. And this picture shows that you have two perspectives to look at anything. One perspective is that if you are using tobacco or you're smoking, you will have brownish teeth and you will have bad smell, you will have health hazards, right? This is all what CISOs do. Generally, they show a risk view, that there are risks, there are threats, I need to have money because I need to implement X control, Y control, I need the next level of EDR, I need the next level of threat hunting, I need the UEBA solution, I need full packet capture, whatever XYZ. And you are asking for $1 million, $500,000 type of money to mitigate this. And businesses keep thinking every year you come, every year you ask for $1 million, $500,000, $2 million, but then what I get in return, I don't know. And then what impact it is having on business? Is it increasing the agility of a business? Is it improving the efficiency in the business? Am I able to share my data more critically with third parties, and that is improvisation because security controls are built into it? Is my application and software getting developed better and secure? We do not have that perspective. As soon as you change the perspective to saying that if you brush your teeth, it becomes white, you get confidence, you smell better. So that's how you show the investments. Now you want to show the investment on this perspective, which is a risk perspective, or you want to show the investments that how it will increase the business efficiency. You will be able to outsource better because you have controls better. You will be able to still comply in spite of having controls on regulations on privacy, right? If I am doing outsourcing analytics for the third party for better recommendation management or pitching better products and services, my PII data also goes to the third party. But if you have security controls built into it with respect to, say, masking solutions, you are able to do it better. So when you control or when you switch your cybersecurity controls into business language so that they can improvise, they can outsource better, they can have third-party security managed while sharing the data. All of these things then come back saying that what impact you are making to the bottom line and how you are securing. So from that change in perspective, as I was saying that if you align more strategically to your CTOs, CFOs, and CEOs, the chances of you getting investments will be a lot better. Now, as we say, CFOs want to see return on investment, CEOs want to see business efficiency improvement while still getting assurance on security. So you see how your strategy is created. If you create your strategy with 4 inputs, the first input is what are my business requirements? And based on those business requirements, how my technology is going to come up? And am I building security in terms of securing those technology investment? What are my regulatory requirements? Am I complying to my regulatory requirements? And then what are the risk management requirements while still managing the risk? So many people confuse compliance with risk. Investments to comply are easy to come. If privacy regulation comes, you may get some budget, you will do some gap assessment of your products, and then you will implement certain controls. But you can be compliant, but still you can be at risk. Many companies who have got hacked, be it JP Morgan or Sony, etc., they were compliant to everything that was applicable to them, be it PCI DSS or ISMS certifications or GLBS or SOX IT 404, etc. But compliance does not equate to risk. So all of these ingredients, when they go into the creating of a strategy, and then you say that still this is what the threats you see, and these are the investments you need. And some of this investment will be on technology, and they will help you not only in compliance, but it will also help in risk mitigation. So a classic example can be business wants to create a platform, right? And this platform will have buyers, sellers come together, and it will have a lot of APIs with third parties. You can post anything and people will quote, and then whoever will quote, you will get the order, so on and so forth, just as an example. Now, this is what business wants to do, which means that there is a technology ecosystem that will come to support. It can be cloud, it can be analytics, it can be APIs which will be exported, it can be a lot of applications which will be integrated, etc. Now, if your security controls or security requirements by design gets plugged into it, so that people can do secure business with API security built into it, with right set of architecture, with defense in-depth concepts, with extension of data masking, tokenization on analytics, so on and so forth, what will happen is that business can go ahead and implement them more securely rather than business first implementing it, and then you are doing a testing and then identifying what controls needs to be implemented, which will be costly affair, plus you may not be able to get the right set of investments once this is done. So that's why your business cybersecurity strategy should be business focused, it should be risk aligned, top down, and should address your compliance as well as technology requirements. Once it goes, then you can put your goals and objectives, then you can put up your entire security organization, right set of processes, right set of tools that you need, and then you see that how those tools are going to be managed and monitored. This part is very important, and I keep saying that 90% of the security tools now are not plug and play. They are not firewalls or antiviruses. 90% of the tools you see, be it EDR, be it SIM, be it UEB, or be it WAF, etc., they are as good as how you configure them, how you keep optimizing it. So these tools, if you keep optimizing it with the right set of rules and keep on managing them well, you will see that 90% of the problems with respect to cybersecurity incidents will get resolved. Otherwise, I often keep hearing that my EDR is there, but still I am not able to detect. There are tens and thousands of events that are coming in. I do not know what is the right incident. And same thing we speak about in SIM, etc. So extremely important is that when you have security tools implemented, you also see that they are being used to the maximum level that you can. I will put up a slide again, on the tools and what is the problem with the point security tools when we see. And then there are a lot of operational security issues, and I generally divide into three parts: the proactive security tools, which are your firewalls and IPS and EDRs of the world. Then there are detective security controls and tools, which are your SIM, UEBA, and then there are responsive, which are all incident response related and crisis management related technologies. So you should control all in a very proactive fashion. Now, if you look at it, what we did is that we did a study based on the incidents that we see as well as the global SOC that we manage, and we identified that the top 10 cyber threats every 2 to 3 years keep moving. So this is a little bit old report because it says 2018 and 22. In 2016-17, we still see phishing, spear phishing, business email compromise as one of the top threats, but then that was replaced by ransomware in 2022. Now if you look at it, insecure interfaces and APIs, as we are talking about API economy, ransomware, data leakage, identity theft, lot of these are really coming into a top 10 threats, which means that our businesses are changing. We are more and more adopting technology and APIs, and this is increasing our attack surface, and the nature of the threats are also increasing. So our controls as well as budgetary requirements should also change based on that. Now what happens is that when you see newer and newer attack surface increasing and newer attacks and threats are coming in, what happens is that you go and start asking for money. Like this year, I am going to implement a DLP and an EDR. Next year, I am going to implement UEBA and proactive threat hunting. Next year, I am going to implement two more solutions. You keep on asking for $500,000, $1 million more, and you put up a 2-3 year plan. You ask point security tools. But what happens is that you will see within 1 year to 1.5 years, your point security tools will stop giving right return on investment. In fact, it will dip, and then you will start asking 2 more security controls. And then you will keep on chasing based on what your business requirement is. So this is what Gartner calls this, I think Forrester calls this as an expense in depth. What is expense in depth problem? Which says that any security control or tool that you will implement, within the 3 years, you will see the return on investment dipping. Like a firewall was a great tool, then application security based firewall came into the picture, then people started coming up WAF, so application security firewalls were not good enough, you still need a WAF. Now WAF is not good enough, you need an API security gateways and API security because WAF needs, does not understand the depth of APIs and how API calls are made and how to stop business logic based attacks on APIs, so now you need API security. And then as it goes by, you will need more and more tools. And some of these tools which are earlier, they become hygienic. It's a mandatory thing that you should implement. On top of it, you have to implement to mitigate the newer set of threats. So that's called expense in depth problem, which means that anytime I look at new threat, I want new technology, and then I see diminishing return on investment within the next 3 years. So how to solve this problem, wherein you cannot keep on going back to CEOs, CFOs, ask for $1 million, $2 million, then you need also a lot of money to operate the technologies. Once you implement it, now you have to operate it. So your cost increases with technologies, and generally it is said that for a decent sized firm with 10,000 people, you have as many as 26 point tools, which means that that is the number of tools that you need to manage, optimize, and on top of it, you are asking for more investment in people, in processes, in technology, and outsourcing, and incident management, so on and so forth. So it becomes very difficult really to justify and keep on asking for more money with the right set of equation so that with conviction that you really can secure the budgets. So what we generally see is that we need to get the risk-reward equation right, which means that you have to implement or invest in the right technologies. And when we say risk-reward equation right, means that sometimes very low-cost security solutions mitigate a lot of risk. And a classic example is a multi-factor authentication. So if you see this, what is my return on investment or my value of controls, and see cost of controls. You see multi-factor authentication from the perspective of value of controls is very high. Because passwords, we all know, are the weakest link. Passwords can be compromised easily. It can be brute force. There are so many places where we have passwords which are common because we remember 8, 10 passwords and keep changing everywhere. And obviously, one password compromise can lead to the password compromise of your corporate accounts too. Multi-factor authentication prevents you from phishing attacks, prevents you from secure remote access, also helps you the controls wherever you are because it's following the same principle, something you have and something you know. So if you focus on multi-factor authentication, the value or return on investment that you will get will be way higher versus, say, saying that I have a next generation SOC and I want to do a UEBA. So just imagine if you implement a UEBA, the amount of data that you build and the analytics you will do will easily cost you $2-3 million. But what is the real value you are getting? But can I do away with metadata of an end user, leveraging EDR better, and can really create certain scripts to identify anomalies and see it in my dashboard? Actually, it is really relatively easy to do and will come at the right cost. So point is that we should not keep chasing point security tools. We should see the real risk and then see what is my value of control that is costing. If you get this risk-reward equation right, you will be able to optimize and right-size your budget so that it's easy to manage. So how do you economize the cybersecurity investment? So this is more from the perspective of CFOs and CEOs because they want to see the return on investment. And as I said, the return on security investment is generally not to get an incident, which is very difficult to really commercialize and put up a value to the number. So one is, which CEOs understand, is a business efficiency improvement. How can I improve the efficiency? So if you have data security controls that goes along with it, like with rights management system, you can outsource better. Your printing is outsourced for insurance policies or for bank statements, etc. So one of the concern is that it has a lot of PI data because it has name, number, and contact details and address. So how do you ensure that when you are outsourcing these kind of things, security controls are going into it? So when you do this, security controls will all the third parties, and as we use more and more SaaS, then that's help, which means that you can outsource faster, you can outsource better. Security controls are always built into sensitive data that you share, and people who have access, they always come through your PAM, you have multi-factor authentication, and you use workflow-based solutions to approve and improvise. API ecosystem security is another example wherein you can really, API security by design and with a framework are built in, and they are taking care of right authentication, authorization, encryption, and tokenization. You will be able to do it in a lot easier way. Then cost optimization. As I was giving an example, how you can rationalize the technology controls, because often we see that there are too many technology controls or security controls you build, but they do not talk to each other. So if you do some vendor consolidation, you will be able to get a lot better. And we just saw the cost value equation, right? Managed services, some of the services you can outsource, you will get at least 20% efficiency, which are commoditized and periodic. Instead of you doing it, let someone else do. You should focus more with respect to the governance and visibility and focus on your core business and alignment to the business. Third is cost of technology management. As I said, I think with vendor consolidation you will achieve. You can increase effectiveness a lot with automation. Generally we call it continuous control monitoring automations that you can do, bringing down your internal audit cost. And stress testing of control, which means ransomware simulations and red teaming on a continuous basis and breach and attack simulation. That will keep on challenging your security controls and efficiency, and a lot of it can be improvised. So what you should do? What boards look at it? So we have seen that there are 3 recommendations that I would say. One is to do a cyber maturity assessment. When you do cyber maturity assessment, what you do is that you look at all of your security controls. You can break it down into domains, and domains can be, in line with ISO 27001, or you can break it down into NIST, whichever you want. I broke it down into domains because then, you have different owners for each of these domains. So security governance, data security and privacy, network security, so on and so forth. And you look at governance in people, process and technology across these domains. See where your maturity is from 1 to 4. Wherever you are down, you also benchmark it against the industry, and then you create a roadmap. So when you do this, first, this is a data-driven exercise. Second, it takes organizational context into the picture. Third, your recommendations are in line with what kind of similar industry you are in. So I give a classic example. If you are doing this for manufacturing industry, suppose you have only 3 or 4 people who are really privileged users. You don't need to implement a privileged ID management solution and invest $200,000. You can just have a management and monitoring VLAN. You can have users with 2-factor authentication and certificates, and they can only come and do the administration. So the recommendations will be a lot more contextualized with the organization profile and risk when you do a maturity assessment instead of generically. While for banks, it will be very different because they are highly regulated. So first thing is that when you do a cyber maturity assessment, take this course, it becomes a lot more data-driven and logical exercise to the board and ask for the investment and create a 2 to 3 year roadmap which is in line with the risk because it takes business context a lot. The second is that you quantify the risk. Now, how to do quantification of risk? Instead of doing a normal risk assessment, you do something called as threat-based risk assessment, which means that for my kind of industry, what are my top 10 threats? So if I'm a bank, my top 10 threats are ransomware, it's our distributed denial of service attacks, it can be web application frauds, it can be ATM skimming, it can be data loss, because I outsource, there are too many DSAs and too many people are on the back office, so on and so forth. And then fifth can be supply chain attacks, etc. Now what you do is that with each of these threats, you see that what will be the impact on my business. So if a ransomware comes, how much business I do online and how much business can be down. If my web applications are attacked and my online banking or mobile banking is not happening for 2 hours, 4 hours, what is the impact of business that I have, which includes regulatory impact, operational impact, financial impact, and reputational impact. Then you see from those threat perspective, what are the controls I need. Say for example, for ransomware, generally you will need 8-9 controls, right? You need to have the right set of patching, you need to have a EDR, you need to have a backup which you can restore faster, you can need application snapshotting, so on and so forth. Once you see that I am short of certain controls, then what will be the impact in terms of modeling, which is probability modeling using algorithms based on what is happening in the industry. And then you see if my probability is set 0.2, of something happening, and then I do not have a control, which means that this is the amount of money that I will lose. So when you do quantify, you also know that I am going to lose, say, $2 million if a ransomware hits me and I am down for 2 hours. I will lose $10 million if ransomware hits and I am down for an entire 1 day. Then the controls that you are asking for in terms of resilience, like application snapshotting or offline backup and restoration model will be a lot higher. Then last is cyber dashboard. This is what generally, we propose that if you can capture the language of threats, risk, impact to business incidents, and the losses in terms of financial modeling and risk quantification. This is what will give insight to board as well as to CEOs to see how you are improving, how you are reducing the probability, how is your risk quantification matters going down, how you are benchmarking now against the peers, and where is the investment going right. So if you capture the right KPIs, you will be able to see, which means that what is my cyber resilience capability. And if you keep doing ransomware simulations, you will see that how fast you can detect and mitigate, but also if ransomware hits, how fast you can restore. So what I am saying is that in the nutshell, you have to turn the table, which means that you have to speak the language of business. You talk about cybersecurity as a strategic business enabler. You talk about business efficiency improvement, cost optimization, and ability of a business to do more with digital trust and outsourcing. You understand the economic drivers and impact of cyber risk by risk quantification. You speak the language of return on security investments and what you are mitigating. So if people know that because of ransomware attacks, you can be down by $2 million in a day, then when you are asking for $500,000, you know that the risk-reward equation by 1:4 is on your side. Of course, you are still investing for something not to happen, and then you are showing it also, how many attacks you have mitigated, how many incidents you have mitigated. So those cyber dashboards and KPIs are telling you the amount of high-risk attacks that you are getting, how much you are really mitigating way in advance. And if something goes wrong, how you are really responding to them. Align your risk management with business needs, as I said, understand business, understand technology requirements, build secure by design, then you will be able to win the table at the CISOs and CFOs. Ensure design supports and cyber resilience is there. With this, as a next steps, you can do 2-3 things. Either you can do a threat assessment, you can do compromise assessment, or you can do an incident response readiness assessment. This is generally, I recommend people who believe that we have implemented a lot of cyber control, do a kind of threat assessments, which means identify top 10 threats and see where you are on the control and quantify them. Second is that when you do compromise assessment, or it's not exactly a red team assessment, but a kind of saying that if I am already compromised and in what stage I am in. So you will do EDRs based assessments or a threat hunting based assessment or certain MIL based tools who capture your data for 2 or 3 weeks from the network and do analytics and tells you that whether you are already compromised or not, because there are a lot of telltale signs which will tell you that if you are in early stages of compromise. So that's all.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and also press the bell icon to stay notified of all the future released videos. See you in the next one. Thank you.